Lawyers police of Reddit. What is the worst way you've seen someone incriminate him herself when they were actually innocent? A woman came into the shop where I was working and tried to pay with a fake €10 note. The cashier noticed straight away and told her that he'd have to keep the note and that it couldn't be accepted as payment. She became really indignant and said that she had received the note in her change from our shop the day before. She insisted that since we had, allegedly, given her the note, we had to accept it as payment. Eventually the police were called. An officer arrived and we explained the situation. We were all annoyed that this woman was making such a big deal about it. The officer asked her if she had known the money was fake before she tried to pay for things with it. She said she knew. I didn't steal her jacket. I was only holding it so I can't hit her better. Maybe not robbery, but definitely assault. I did no hit her. I did not. Here's a tip. Whatever you do, don't be a sarcastic smartass. They will take it as a confession. My cousin was at his older brother's college party, and it goes so rowdy that the police came to break it up. The music is off, and they've rounded everyone up, and the cop asks, "Okay, who here has been drinking underage?" He raises his hand without hesitation. He was the only one. I know a guy that went to a party to find his friend. He was 21 and everyone there was 20 or younger. So just as he's searching for his friend, the cops rolled up. They tried to get him with like 40 counts of furnishing alcohol to minors. He fought the charges and won. The judge even made the officer responsible apologize. Haha. I'm a law student, and a professor told us today about her worst one from when she worked as a public defender. Apparently, a convicted felon was riding his motorcycle when he saw a cop issuing a traffic ticket to someone else on the side of the road. He pulled over his motorcycle, walked up to the cop, and said, "Excuse me officer, I'm a convicted felon and have H in my pocket." As his public defender, she asked him why the heck he would ever do that. His answer? Well, he was gonna catch me eventually. Maybe he wasn't referring to that specific cop when he said, "He was gonna catch me eventually." Maybe he's an intuitive addict that realized there was no getting away with a life of crime. Maybe it's Maybelline. I dunno. Officer, I don't sell drugs, I do drugs. Unless you wanna buy some drugs. Saw a guy arrested for possession of marijuana and I think some oxycodone or something. At first appearance, the judge reads everyone the usual spiel about how first appearance isn't the time to litigate your case and to not talk about the facts. He gets to this guy and explains what he's been arrested for. The guy says, "Marijuana? Nah, I ain't had that. I just had them pills." Get dispatched to a domestic violence call. Female said her husband punched her in the face and the ribs. Female has multiple scrapes and marks on her face and ribs. My partner asks if he hit his wife and he says yes. Partner asks him why he punched her in the face and ribs, meaning what led to the physical violence. Guy says, "Well, I was punching her in the face but then she covered her face. So I had to work the body so she would drop her hands. Then I went right back to the face." He explained this as he mimes a Mike Tyson-esque bob and weave. Greatest confession ever. Ugh. This is what happens when you combine good logic and a bad person. Not innocent, but stupid nonetheless. We were all drinking in a hotel room one time and got a little too loud. Almost everyone was over 21 but one of our friends was still only 20. A cop showed up to give a noise complaint and asked how old we were. Everyone said 21 or 22 except our friend who said 16, so the cop looked at him real strange and said he needed to check his ID. He looked at it for a second and said, "This says you're 20. He replies, "I know sir, I thought I would get in less trouble if I was under 17. The cop tells him, "You're real stupid boy, you know that," and told us to quiet down. My law professor had a client who was an accused drug dealer. He paid his bail in dirt-stained small bills his wife brought to the courthouse in 4 plastic shopping bags. Never did find out if they admitted to evidence. Oh, I have another story. This one is my own. So I got this call stating a security guard caught 2 people having sex in a car in a supermarket parking lot. I get there and find 2 cars parked next to one another in a semi-secluded space, one matching the description I was given. I roll up behind it with my lights all on and spotlights on them. I figured it would be an easy "you're both dumb, go home" type of call. Nope. As I walk up to the car, the guy is stumbling out of the passenger side pulling his pants up. I see him start to dig into a backpack in the seat. That's a big no-no. So I start shouting at him to show me his hands. He doesn't listen, so I shout louder. He jumps and then I hear clink. At this point I'm thinking, oh frick. I look at his feet and there lays a crack pipe. The guy and girl were obviously not there for just sex. I ended up finding insane amounts of cash and a variety of drugs and paraphernalia. The guy would have just gone home if he wasn't a jittery moron. He got the girl charged much higher than himself in the end since it was her car all the crap was in. And I thought it would be an easy day. My friend was speeding and saw a cop turn around for him. So he went faster to try and get to an exit to get away. Ended up getting pulled over by another cop. The cop asked him what he was doing in such a hurry and he said trying to get away from another cop. Yeah, he got a ticket. Dunno if this counts, but when I was training as a PPO my trainer told me about a guy that ran for no reason once. A Hispanic male was pulled over. He had no license or any proper documentation. It's so common here that many officers just write tickets and avoid deportation. Anyway, when asked for his license the guy freaked out. He waited for his chance and then took off on foot. That prompted a whole chase that eventually included K9. The officers didn't know why he ran and it's generally safe to assume someone who runs is dangerous. So K9 gets in there and he does something to pee the dog off. The dog chews off his calf muscle. When asked why he ran the guy just said he was scared. I don't know if he was charged. I doubt it though. It was a crappy situation. Not a cop or a lawyer, but a security guard. They're these two people on the property I was overseeing. Not illegal and they cooperated when I asked for it to note who was on the property after hours. When I went back to my booth, and they then proceeded to slash the tires and break the windows on my patrol car, all the while saying I can't arrest them because I am not a real cop. I guess they forgot I had their names, ID numbers, license plate number, and faces documented and on camera. They were arrested 8 hours later. Sweet justice. I've heard about the old DUI gotcha when the response to recite the alphabet backwards is I couldn't even do that if I were sober. But I don't know if that's just an urban legend or not. It sounds like something one might reasonably say in response, though. It's legit though. I have never done it in my life. I can't do it sober or otherwise. I mean, I don't even know if that guy got it right. None of these stories are about innocent people. I've noticed. I'm still having fun though. About a year ago my friend had come out to the club with us. He was underage, but had 1 beer. On the way back home he was driving. His girlfriend in the passenger seat and her older brother was in the back seat. Both of the passengers were drunk, especially the brother. He started punching him in the back of the head while he was driving, trying to be funny. So my friend swerved the car quickly left and right, as to jiggle the car I guess, not swerve lanes, to make the brother stop. I guess he didn't see the cop car behind him, and got pulled over. The cop must have smelled the beer on him and ended up conducting the regular sobriety tests. I think he ended up failing the preliminary breathalyzer, so they arrested him. In jail they gave him the actual chemical test. Turns out in court that the test resulted in a .00 back level, so he would have gotten off no questions asked. But he says that while he was talking to one of the officers in jail, they were acting all friendly and asked him, so you didn't drink at all? Not even only beer? And he replied saying, well yeah, just 1 beer. Statement was brought up in court and bam, he was found guilty. This was his second offense having to do with underage drinking, so he got his license suspended for 6 or 9 months, not sure, and had to do community service. So yeah, don't fall into a cop's trap. I'm gonna break these cuffs. I'm gonna break these cuffs. Ugh. I used to do computer work for a police station, and one day, when I was working on a PC, a cop was at another computer listening to his recording of an interview of a person and writing up a report. This person had crashed into a parked car, was able to drive a bit farther but had to abandon their car and walked home. The police went to the owner's home early the next morning and interviewed her. I heard this. Police. Okay, so you hit the car and came right home. Did you stop anywhere first? Suspect. No, I came straight home. Police. Did you have anything to drink when you got home? Suspect. Number. Police. Nothing at all. Suspect. Number. Police. So you didn't drink any alcoholic beverages between the time of the accident and when we arrived at your home? At this point, I said to the officer listening to the recording, say yes. The officer said, "She is not very smart." Suspect, "No, nothing at all." Police, "So why did the breath test show a .11? Suspect, "I have no idea." As a firefighter, we once rolled up to a car accident where this kid about 17 years old had run into the concrete pillar under a highway overpass. Car was totally wrecked. Kid's arm was broken in 3 or 4 places and was bleeding pretty bad. The first thing he said to me when I got up to his driver's side window, "The car is not stolen. There is no reason to call the cops." Normally people say stuff like, "I'm hurt bad" or "Get me out of here," but not this guy. He just kept repeating "The car is not stolen" over and over. We called the cops. My brother didn't exactly incriminate himself, but he sure made himself unpopular. He was DJing on a party boat when they got raided, just as the police were boarding their boat, and he claims he didn't do it intentionally, having only noticed the police after the record was spinning. He played out KRS-One sound of the police and, of course, a fair number of the party goers were joining in with the whoop whoop. But the police were not amused, taking it to be a deliberate attempt at humor at their expense. Record got taken off. My brother got an earful. Your brother is a hero, accidental or otherwise. There was a case years ago where a man had been accused from breaking into vending machines and parking meters. The constantly denied the charges and had his bail paid in coin. Hey man, he was just a simple coin collector. Lawyer, since the accident, have you done anything else to alleviate the pain? Plaintiff witness, I smoke weed every day. This was during a deposition and was not admitted before the jury because it was scandalous and impertinent. My sort of stepdad failed a roadside sobriety test. He was taken to the county jail where he registered 0.0 back because he hadn't been drinking. I watched this happen. His lack of coordination is legendary. I was once pulled over in a crappy neighborhood. Being of a race that was not endemic to the area, the police asked to search my car. Stupidly, I was young and foolish, "Get off my nuts," said yes, and then jokingly added, "Remember though, this is my mom's car, so any crack is hers." Second search, canine search, and intimidating personal search all turn up nothing. I learned never to speak to the police and all it cost me was a little dignity and a few constitutional rights. Saying you have C is probable cause for search. To be fair, the police go to comedy clubs for jokes. They don't pull you over for a laugh. Wrote a book called If I Did It. I'm a criminal defense attorney and this happens much more often than you think. And, every time it happens, it is the worst time. That is, if you care about justice. To be sure, it happens in the interrogation room, but more often it is part of plea negotiations. Whenever there are co-defendants, you may find yourself with a prosecutor who just needs one or some of them to take the weight. Sometimes, the discovery tells you who the heavy is, but a lot of times, it's up for the co-defendants to decide. If Aaron's death has taught this country anything, it should be that sentencing guidelines and prosecutorial discretion put defendants in impossible situations that led to desperate decisions. This was not only true with Aaron but also hundreds of thousands of mostly poor, uneducated people every day. So, I have seen sons take a hit for their mothers, girlfriends for boyfriends, and every other possible permutation. Many times, these people are not squeaky clean themselves, but they are also not guilty of the crimes they plead to. That's why you don't say anything until your lawyer tells you what to say. I am a traffic cop in the UK and we were filming for one of these Road Wars Police Interceptors Traffic Cops TV shows. As a part of the show, they ask us to do some filming of pulling people over and doing routine stops. So we decide that the next car to go through the set of lights we are currently at will get pulled over and we'll record what we do as part of a routine traffic stop. So this guy goes through in a normal manner and we follow behind, pull him over in a safe location and we all pile out of the car. I'm walking over to the driver's side and about to explain to the guy that we're filming for this show and they just want to see what happens during a routine stop check. He rolls down the window and immediately, before I could even say a word, blurts "It's in the glove box." With a puzzled look on my face, I ask him what's in the glove box. "The drugs," comes the reply. So I detain him, cuff him and put him in the back of the traffic car, and my colleague and I search the glove box and find a substantial amount of H. When asked back at the station why he admitted the offense, he said he saw the two police cars. One was a backup car, and all the yellow jackets of the camera crew, and thought the game was up. If only he knew. Technically he was actually innocent because he hadn't committed an obvious crime up until that point. In traffic court, guy stands up. Judge says your officer isn't here. How do you plead? Guy starts explaining things, about to go into self-incrimination. Judge interrupts him and points out again that the officer isn't here. Someone next to the guy pipes up with plead innocent, you moron. He then proceeded to plead innocent and was a lesson to everyone else in court that day whose officer hadn't shown up. One of my friends had had a couple beers and was driving back home. A cop was pulled over on the side of the road ahead of him with its cherries flashing. My friend pulled up and over right in front of the cop. The cop came up to see if he needed help, smelled beer on him and gave him a DUI. He wasn't innocent by any means, but he wouldn't have been pulled over if he would have just drove on by. And I know drinking and driving is bad. I don't need to hear the lecture. It's just the only story I could think of, so I figured I'd share. Excuse me, so I don't know how you can associate with such a flagrant abuser of our country's laws. A friend of my sister's had already been ticketed twice by her college police for underage drinking. Her parents told her if she got ticketed again, they'd pull her out of school. So when the cops pulled her and her friends over one Friday night, she got the bright idea to flee. The cops caught her and cuffed her. So she ran again, this time managing to hide in the bushes and wriggle her way out of the cuffs. She stumbles home. The next day, the cops knock on her dorm room door. They ask for her by name, so she pretends to be her roommate. The cops give her a business card and tell her it's very important she contacts them ASAP. She flees her dorm room and spends the next couple days hiding in friends' dorm rooms, including my sister's, for a few hours. She gets phone calls from friends of hers. Apparently, the police are and canvassing the campus for her. They found her photo at a sorority house, so they know she lied to them. One of her sorority sisters finally convinces her to turn herself in. She gets charged with a long list of crimes, including several felony charges. Her parents decided to leave her in jail for the weekend instead of paying her bail. Once she gets out, she spent several hours combing the bushes where she'd hidden to find the handcuffs, since one of the charges was theft of police property. Why is this story relevant to this thread? Because the cop that caught her and her friends that night forgot his breathalyzer and let the entire group off with a lecture. You've been visited by the Good Sleep Kitter. Upvote within the next 3 seconds and you will be blessed with cozy and restful sleeps. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.